friends, we wanted to get an award-winning director, writer, artist to be the last speaker for today. His body of work ranges from grand opera, original works for the theater to special events, concerts, and television. From reinterpreting Puccini and Rizal, hanggang sa paglalako at pag-launch ng sabod at paglalahad ng showbiz issues na gawa na rin po niya. His career in various creative fields spans 25 years. He's a 3-time Palanca Award-winning playwright whose works include St. Louis Loves Them Filipinos, Philly, Atang, Shock Value, and his collected plays will soon be published by the Ateneo de Manila Press. Our next speaker is an expert in indigenous and tribal culture. He's an avid collector of arts and antiques, and he's here to tell us about the 10 qualities of pop culture today, as well as tell us about their strengths and weaknesses. Mga kaibigan, let's give a round of applause, please, for Direct Floy Quintos.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you. I must be the oldest person here, and I'm very embarrassed to be. I'm 48 years old, so bear with me. Okay. When they asked me to do this, they asked me to open with a why not question. And seeing all the creative spirits here, listen, I came in just very briefly to hear the talk on comics, and I feel I immediately connected to the quandary of these artists. Anyway, my why not question, because that's how it's supposed to be now here. Why not question? So, why not learn the rules so you can break them? And I think I want to address this talk to most of the people out there who are doing creative work, who are trying to sell ideas, who are trying to do creative work in a system which will devour you eventually. Find out what that means anyway. Anyway, one of the hallmarks of contemporary culture as we know it is pop culture, and that demands a constant supply of new ideas, novel techniques, instant reinventions of your personalities, of your ideas. That's really great. Because in a sense, that allows more creativity, it encourages constant creation, and it fosters competition. Ayun pala yung mga why not question. Okay. But with pop culture's constant quest for reinvention and for the new, I ask you young people to ask yourselves, are you in a sense shortchanging yourselves and giving in to the culture of instant gratification and consumerism? You know what that means naman, no? That may just overshadow the efforts of quieter and more lasting, and works of more lasting value. Now, I want to go through, based on what we know, dahan-dahan daw sabi ni Jan. With 18 minutes to go, dahan-dahan lang daw ako. Okay. Given the, I've been observing pop culture for quite a long time. I've been working in television, I've been doing theater, films, movies, blah, 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 blah. Sabi nga kanina, magmula sa paglako ng sabon hanggang sa grand opera, nagawa ko na yata. And I'm quite thankful. But being able to straddle the worlds of pop culture and high culture and low culture and culture in general, I've come up with 10 things, 10 qualities that define what pop culture is for us today. And each of these qualities are strengths of pop culture, but they are also essentially weaknesses. First, let's go through what the 10 are, and then through why these strengths are also weaknesses. Saan po? Okay, sana makita ko po. Okay, so what is global pop culture really all about? And what is this thing called the Zeitgeist? You young artists, you young creative people, you are actually capturing the German term, the Zeitgeist of your times. The predominant mores, the feelings, the passions of your times. Okay, ito lang po ay, I'm not a sociologist. But then, these are the 10 things that make up pop culture. This is what makes pop culture so interesting. This is what makes your culture so alive. This is what makes it so engrossing and so affecting. But, I hope you listen to a 48-year-old, talagang pinagdidiinan ng edad, but please listen to the fact that these 10 strengths can also be weaknesses to the art, to whatever it is you want to create. These are strengths, but they can also be, in a way, traps. Let me show you why. Young. Okay, it needs to be young because of the very nature of youth. Your youth, the market is fickle, and it always needs something new. Think about it this way. With all the new ideas going around, don't you sometimes feel that you may sometimes lose a very good idea because you want to move on to the next one? Are we sometimes sacrificing the quality of your ideas? Are we discarding the work of other people simply because somebody new came along? Because of our preoccupation with the new, we may just be losing out on work that is ultimately more important, better executed, work na nakita na kasi natin. Think about it that way. That's the weakness of it being a young culture. Number two, it's always fresh. Same thing. Because we are constantly wanting what's new, we may not recognize the efforts and the lasting value. We judge the merits of a work based on its novelty, not on its efficiency anymore or its execution. And you see this happening a lot. You see this really happening a lot in the mainstream fields. In the subcultures, you have so much more strength to be, you have so much more room to judge quality. But with the subcultures, but with the mainstream culture, television, indie films. For example, let's take indie films now, which is such a rage. Everybody is doing an indie film. And that's good. Why? It's an alternative to mainstream fare. But have you noticed, and I watch indie films all the time, have you noticed that after a while it just becomes that they're falling into the same trap as the mainstream, which is in giving cult audiences gay themes. Everything has to have a macho dancer. Everything has to have a story about a sex worker. It's falling, the indie films are falling into the same trap. They may just fall into the same trap that the mainstream, which has disappointed audiences of the mainstream. Now, that's just my observation. So it's fresh, so it's bold, so it's shocking, but ultimately, what are we losing out on? What are we publicizing? Next, 3, the cult of celebrity. Okay. I just came from Star Talk, which is the show I do. Sabi nga, paglalako ng sabon. I just came from a live show of Star Talk that we did. And one of the issues we did today, I won't name the celebrity, is he hosted an Earth Day show, an Earth Day special, and he was called to Malacanang to get an award from the president for hosting the show. Okay, think about it. Given the realities of Philippine television, ang ginawa lang ng celebrity yon, nagbasa ng spiel. Basa lang siya ng spiel. In-honor yung celebrity. It just struck me kanina. In-honor yung celebrity, hindi in-honor yung scriptwriter, yung conceptualizer. Because, why? Because the feeling of mass media is that you will get much more attention for your project, for your cause. You honor the celebrity. Fine, well and good. But in the end, as creative people, teka muna, there's something askew with the sense of balance here. Okay, the other thing about celebrity is that, and this is related to eye candy, to the feeling of eye candy, to the next point about eye candy. Well, it is a visual age. We want them young, we want them fresh, we want them beautiful. Okay lang, sige na, given that. But really, don't you sometimes feel that we are losing out on it's no longer a celebrity based on merit and achievement. It's based on coolness, projection, kapayatan. You know, okay, sige, fine. We need the eye candy, we need that. But sometimes we have to tell ourselves as a public, let's go back to genuine achievers. There's nothing wrong with a person being 30 and an achiever. There's nothing wrong with being slightly overweight and an achiever. There's nothing wrong with endorsing a product with real people. This especially applies to the cult of advertising and fashion. In fashion, for example, I wonder if we have any people in the fashion community here. Pia. Okay, there's this big trend, which lasted for the past 3 or 4 years, towards the Brazilians. Really, it's quite a big trend in fashion. You go to a producer, you go to a casting call, it's all the Brazilians who are coming.
And the Brazilians, if you look at them, okay, magaganda nga sila, but what kind of beauty are we fostering on the public? Siyempre, we are telling them, you have to be tall, white, skinny. Wala na yung mga days ni, we are no longer able to look at beauty as an alternative kind of beauty. It's already become packaged towards the Brazilian mode. And that's what's hitting pop culture now. Okay, it can't live without publicity. We always feel that the work that we're doing, we feel validated kapag sinusulat siya, kapag nakikita natin yung sarili natin sa magazine, kapag nakikita natin na pinag-uusapan. Okay, reminder, children, nabibili po ang publicity, nagagawa po yan. There are agencies that are strongly connected to building brands, to making sure you get the right exposure. What happens if you don't get exposure for your projects? Does that mean they're bad? Does that mean that they're not worth it? Does that mean that nobody is listening? I've always believed that as creative people in your fields, just go in and do the work. Go in and do the work, and somehow people will notice if you're good enough. Believe me. Don't rush into your jobs. Don't rush into your efforts wanting from left to right, Chenis of society page. Don't go into that. That's the biggest trap of all. Do the work. Do the work. The publicity will come later. The talk will come later if you're good and if you work hard enough. Next, it's brand and image conscious. So much so that even the most revolutionary brands, especially in fashion, so much so that the most revolutionary brands are now establishment. Wala na eh. That the whole trend of pop culture is to make establishment what is essentially non-establishment. And we are so conscious of that. So much so, I know that you don't do this. You're much too cool for this. So much so that there's the preponderance of, we don't mind carrying a fake Louis Vuitton as long as it's tatak Louis Vuitton, as long as it's a Class A model of a Louis Vuitton. You don't do that. Thankfully, mercifully, you have your own minds. But given the mainstream of pop culture, that's exactly what's happening now. It ain't good if it ain't branded. That, I think, is one of the biggest pitfalls of pop culture and consumerism that we're being taught. Next, it values individuality of opinion, of style, and of expression. Wonderful. Kailangan naman talaga natin i-value ang individuality of style and expression. But, look how it's affected reality shows. Look how it's affected reality TV. Look, I listen to the radio a lot. And hindi ba sa radio ang dami-daming the DJs like, phone in your opinion, blah, blah, blah. That's part of the hallmarks of pop culture. It values your opinion. It gives you time to say something. It gives you your 2 minutes of fame. But in reality, kids, let's ask ourselves, what am I really saying here? The other day, I was in the car, tapos ang pinag-uusapan sa radyo what's your favorite ice cream for summer? Okay. Okay, pag-usapan po natin ang ice cream. Sige, yun talaga, and it went on and on. So much so that nasa C5 ako, pag abot ko sa Makati, ice cream pa din ang pinag-uusapan natin. And I don't blame you. You will want your say. Younger people, especially the teenagers, napakalaki ng impluensya ng media na marinig lang ang boses mo sa TV, o sa radyo, na sinasabi mo na, ang favorite ice cream ko ay mocha, kasi ang mocha ay parang siya. Yung honestly, kids, yung gusto mong sabihin, mas matanda na kayo dun pero yung generation ng teens, if you notice, napaka-pervasive nun. May masabi lang. Di ba? That's the bad thing, I think. That's the weakness of wanting all this individuality. Sometimes nagsasabi tayo para lang may masabi. Okay. Let me just digress a little. I used to be a judge on this singing show, Pinoy Pop Superstar. And when they asked me to renew my contract after 3 years, I said no. Honestly, I'll tell you why. Because I really felt that given the medium of TV, it just wants you to say something. Upstaged ako nun. Anyway, it just wants you to say something for the sake of saying something. Maski, and this was a moral quandary for me because I was thinking, these are kids who come from the provinces, who want to sing, who just really want to sing. And then the producer comes up to me and says, tarayan mo naman ng konti, direct. Bakit ko tatarayan? I'll give a constructive comment. Hindi, para maganda sa TV. So sabi ko talaga after, ganun ba dito? Of course, taga-TV din ako, so I should have known. But after a while, I could have been as individual as possible. Talaga, sige, magtaray ka dyan, magtaas ka ng kilay dyan, sa bila, itin mo yan. But after a while, you begin to ask yourselves, what am I really saying? I'm putting forward my individuality and sacrificing what? A young kid's dreams? Parang after a while, sige, thank you na lang. Move on na lang ako. Anyway, what are we really saying? What is our opinion informed? Is our opinion the result of much study? Have we thought about it? Or do we just want to be glib and quotable? Diba? Glib and quotable lang naman eh, because it's the era of the soundbite. It's the era of the quick soundbite. We just want to be glib, quotable. Deadma kung sinong masaktan, deadma kung it doesn't make sense, basta maganda ako. Sorry, cute no? Bye-bye, lalang. That's the whole, that's the whole concept now. Lalang. Okay, next. It's techie, it's highly techie. Wonderful. One of the young artists I'm working with, I'll just pass his photos around to you, no? One of the young guys I'm working with now who's really helped change the way we perceive theater is a young man named Georgit Lorenzo. And he's been able, he's been able to change the way we look at how theater is marketed. I wanted to talk about this because I'm basically a theater person. And what he does is he shoots the actors and he manipulates the images. This is a still from our production of Orosman at Safira. Let's pass it around. The one in the back, this is from Orosman at Safira, which is a balagtas work. And yet you've never seen it treated like this. You may want to pass it on. Soli lang po natin na kasi hiniram ko lang po yan. This is a work that he did for Mulan, the Repertory Philippines' production of Mulan. Again, and the one in the back is for Ateneo, the Blue Repertory of Ateneo for a production called Bear. What he's able to do is to manipulate images. So this is for Hamlet, and this is really knocked out. This is for Hamlet. It doesn't even look like Hamlet, di ba? Pass around, please. Soli lang po natin, ha? Papatayin po ako niyan. And this is for our production of Atang. See, he's able to make it look like fashion. Anyway, what does this all have to do with being techie? There are ways to use technology. Of course, it makes so many things easier. It makes drawing easier. It makes composition easier. It makes it easier to change colors, change faces. But, of course, I'm sure the techies here will agree with me. It's not the material, it's not the thingy, it's not the gizmo, it's how you use it. And how you use it always has something to do with looking at other works, looking at paintings. What are you referencing? What do you want to say? If you want to pass it here so the kids here can see, it's really okay. So, again, it's techie, it's highly techie, but there are ways of using techie so that it comes out as a real individual expression of yourselves. Last, it speaks its own language. Okay, let's take the most, siguro one of the first tribes of Manila. Mga bakla. Pag-usapan na natin. Total, nandiyan na tayo. No, okay. First, the first ones who had their own language. We had our own language simply because we felt, of course, sociologists will say, the baklas talk that way because we wanted to be understood among ourselves. Little by little, you'll see how many straight men have I heard say, in fairness. In fairness talaga. Or talaga, I mean, straight men, you use that now, in fairness talaga. The other day, I was watching the news in the morning, Unang Hirit, or one of these morning shows, we won't believe this, may nabangga, isang babaeng nakasakay sa jowa, sa boyfriend niya, nabangga sila along the highway. Duguan yung babae ha, duguan. Conscious naman siya. Tinatanong siya nung newscaster, ano pong paano po nangyari to? And I swear, say ng babae, ayun po, tumatakbo, nakakbay lang po ako sa boyfriend ko, papunta po kami trabaho, tapos nasmemplang kami ng bonggang-bongga. Sumemplang kayo ng bonggang-bongga. You know, really, I mean, the way gay language has come to infiltrate the mainstream, really, sometimes, I don't know if it should be a compliment to gay people or it just shows how much straight language doesn't communicate as much. Okay. What's the weakness of this? What's the weakness of this? Especially among all the other subgroups, subcultures that have their own language. Ang feeling ko naman dito, what worries me, is that sometimes we might become too exclusivist. You want to exclude people rather than include them. So in our desire to be cool, in our desire to speak our own language, we may just be building more cages than we are bridges. Strength and weakness. It speaks the universal language of globalism. Of course, we must be global. We must move forward. We must be at par with all the rest. We must be, to use a word I hate, we must be world class. Okay, fine. Sige, try natin maging world class, ha? Okay, but, and I want to relate this to the comment of the young gentleman who was speaking about creating comic books. Yes, I want to them. When he said that, sir, pardon me, I will just paraphrase you. When he said that it is important to try and relate to fellow Filipinos, of course that's important. He also said that it doesn't have to be consciously Pinoy because eventually, this is what you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, it will show. Yung pagka-Pinoy natin will show. Did I get it? It doesn't have to be overt. Hindi naman tayo kailangan nakabarong lahat and everything. No. Actually, I totally agree. Because, and this, I totally agree. Kahit papaano, kahit anong gawin natin, maski magpaka-global tayo to high heavens, little by little, lalabas yan. Hindi ba nga? That's why we have that joke. How do you know it's a Filipino crossing the room? Gaganon. These are things that are ingrained so closely to us that kahit papaano, no matter how global we want to be, it will come. Now, for those of you who are in the creative fields, the guys who do comics literature, maybe we have fashion people, maybe we also have design people here. One thing that you might want to look at is really your tribal culture, Philippine indigenous culture. Maybe you want to look at history also, because you don't know just how much things like this open up your horizons as artists. Really. There is no better art, there is no better creation than one that has a strong sense of place and a strong sense of history. Example, Slumdog Millionaire. Example, tignan nyo yung pelikulong yan. Kayang-kaya natin gawin yun dito. May Smoky Mountain din tayo, may Kotong din tayo, lahat. But has anybody ever thought about it? No. Because we've always thought it was not beautiful. We've always thought there is no story. We've always thought, sorry if may email the fans, the true, the good, and the beautiful. Ng globalism, Miss Universe You know what I mean? Our idea of globalism is best foot forward, Miss Universe, ganon, competing on their level. Hindi Tingnan mo talaga, Slumdog Millionaire, what do you see? Poetry in every frame. Taihan ng tao, umeebak yung aso, nagpapatayan sila, but catharsis. I love that movie, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, feel the same way. I-contrast natin ha, pop culture was making a big thing for Ploning going into the Oscars, diba? We were really rooting for Ploning. Beautiful film by a friend of mine, Dante Nico Garcia. But you really compare the storytelling and the strong sense of place, the strong sense of identity. Honestly, and I was telling Dante Nico Garcia this, you know, I love Ploning, but it could have taken place in the south of China. Substitute mo si Gong Li, lagay mo sa island, China din. Ang Slumdog, kahit papano, you know where it's happening. So, don't be afraid